Bonjour, sit down, please, and welcome to my office. As you can see, I am alone today because Morganne was very busy and she could not film today. So I, being the prime detective that I am, have decided to sit down with you guys and present a case to you to help me solve the mystery of. I'm gonna lose the accent because after 2 years of doing French, that wasn't my best work. But yeah, so I literally like patted the little cigarette like it was a real thing. Anyways, Morganne is not here with me today because she was very busy over the weekend and she was unable to film. We have decided that I'm going to present this to you guys first, and then next week we're going to try to solve it all together. So I fell down an Agatha Christie hole here recently where I've just like fallen in love with like whodunits and murder mysteries and all that stuff. I saw this thing on YouTube where they tried to solve a Agatha Christie novel, and I was like, that sounds fun, but what if you tried to write one? So I went and I started coming up with characters and coming up with details and all this stuff, and then I presented it, like I kind of gave Morganne the general like aspect of it. She loved the idea, so I'm gonna present it to you guys, and then once the video goes up, you guys can, do all your theories and stuff in the comments. And then the following week, next week, Morganne is going to try to solve the murder for herself. And if you guys want to help Morganne, please comment down below, like why you think it might be a certain character, etc. So now we are going to get into the case, and hopefully you guys can help Morganne solve the murder of Mallory Manor. When Bridget Barlow arrived at her grandparents' estate, she could smell the sweet aromas from the garden. The mix of lavender and nightshade swirled in the air, and she remembered the summers she used to spend there before her mother Eleanor, Charles's oldest daughter, and father Percy had moved the family to upstate New York for her father's job. Now, she was a senior in college and soon to graduate. Her plan was to become a writer. The rest of the family arrived promptly at 7 p.m. First it was the Whitlocks, her Aunt Victoria, Charles' second oldest, her husband Victor, their daughter Alice, and their nanny Camilia. Soon, Henry Mallory and his sons arrived. Henry, Charles' middle child, had lost his wife to cancer a few years back. His sons were twins. Caleb was the kinder of the two. Connor was strange and always letting his hormones get the best of him. Jacqueline Mallory, Charles and Meredith's youngest, was the last to arrive. She had always been the black sheep of the family and was always in and out of rehab. Dinner was set in the dining room by Oscar the cook promptly at 8 p.m. The family gathered around, Charles trading seats with his son so he could talk to his grandchildren during dinner. The family had a nice dinner, and due to the storm brewing outside, they all decided to stay the night until morning. This wasn't an uncommon thing, and Charles loved having all of his children under the same roof again. After dinner, Eleanor and Charles had an argument. Charles had been giving Eleanor money for Bridget's college due to Percy losing her college fund because of his gambling problem. Oscar the cook helped the maid, Agnes, clean up the dining area. Agnes had been with Charles since before he had married Meredith. She never liked her. And then, when they began to have children, Agnes helped raise them because she wasn't able to have her own. Oscar walked into the kitchen and found the side door open, a can of rat poison on the counter, and a knife missing from his knife block. Charles headed up to bed around midnight, just as Bridget began writing in her room. She had been working on a novel and needed to finish it. Bernard the butler checked on Charles and Meredith before he left for the evening. He had worked for them for a few years and had to get home to his mother because she had a surgery over the weekend. He had asked Charles for an advance on his pay to help him pay for his mother's surgery, but Charles told him no. Around 12:30, Meredith decided to go downstairs to get her a glass of warm milk, something she did most nights to help her sleep. She took her book into the study and began to read as she fell asleep quickly. Eleanor and Percy went to bed around 1 after Eleanor had went to say goodnight to her father. Around 1:30, Victoria walked up to her father's room to tell him good night. She noticed when she arrived back to her room her necklace was missing. Her and her husband rarely slept together anymore. He was stressed since losing his job recently. Henry left his room around 2 a.m. and was vomiting all night in the bathroom. Alice heard this, and the noise echoed throughout the home through the whole night. Theo, the pool boy, was putting the tarp over the pool around 2 a.m. before he went home for the night. Jacqueline went for a walk around 2 a.m. outside to have a cigarette. She saw Jasper wandering around the garden. When she asked him what he was doing, he said he had forgotten to turn off the sprinklers earlier that evening. Connor snuck out of his room around 2 a.m. to go spy on the nanny. When he peered through her window, he saw she wasn't alone. Caleb left his room around 1 a.m. and saw Jasper coming into the house for some reason. Camilia looked out her window and saw Jacqueline walk into the pool house with someone around 2 a.m. The next morning, Bridget Barlow walked into her grandfather's room and found him dead, foam coming from his mouth and a knife in his neck. She called the detective, and he arrived at 8 a.m. The room was a mess. There were pearls on the rug and a dirty glove under the bed, and Charles' checkbook was missing. So, who murdered Charles Mallory? Charles Mallory. He's the victim, 72, was stabbed in the neck, found in bed the next morning, foam coming out of his mouth. The room had been thrown around and looked a mess. There was a bunch of pearls scattered on the rug, and his checkbook was missing from the desk, which had all of his passwords wrote down on it. Meredith Mallory. She's the victim's wife, 68. She went downstairs to get her a cup of warm milk to help her fall asleep. She was not in bed with her husband whenever he was murdered. Bridget Barlow. Eleanor's daughter. She's the one who found Charles. She's 21. She's a college student in her senior year, and she wants to be a novelist. She was up all night writing, and she's the one who called Detective Warren. Dallas Warren, he's our detective. He's like 25. There's nothing much there. He's basically like you stand in for him, basically. Or you help him solve the murder, whatever. We have Eleanor Barlow. She's Charles' oldest daughter. She's 42. She's been stealing funds from her father for Bridget's college. Percy Barlow, he is 45. He's Eleanor's husband. He works as a doctor. He has a gambling problem, which made him lose Bridget's college fund. Victoria Whitlock. She's 40. She is Charles' second oldest. She's very cold-hearted and kind of bitchy. She is her father's favorite, and her necklace is missing. And Victor, he is 44. He's a salesman that recently was laid off, and his marriage is rocky, and he does have a drinking problem. Alice Whitlock, their daughter, she is 14 years old, and she heard Henry puking all night, and she saw her dad leave his room around 2 a.m. Camilla Flores, she is 32. She is the nanny for the Whitlocks, and she saw Jacqueline sneaking around the house around 2 a.m. Henry Mallory, he is 35 years old. He's the middle child of Charles, and he is a real estate agent. His wife died from cancer a few years back, and he has a lot of medical bills due to that. And he was very sick after dinner. Caleb Mallory, he is 17, and he saw Jasper coming into the house around 1 a.m. Connor Mallory, he snuck out around 2 a.m. to peep at the nanny's window, but she wasn't alone. Then we have Jacqueline Mallory. She's 28, and she is the youngest of Charles and Meredith. She's the black sheep of the family, and she has a drug problem. Bernard the butler. He has worked for Charles for 12 years, and he was mad at Charles for not giving him an advance in pay for his mother's surgery. Agnes. And she has worked for Charles most of her life. He considers her family, and she helped raise the children because she couldn't have her own. She does not like Meredith. Jasper Charlson. He is 25 and the gardener, and he recently lost one of his gloves. Other than that, he has been working with the family for a few years now. Theo, the pool boy. He is 25 years old, and he met someone in the pool house around 1 a.m. Oscar Nolan, the cook. He found rat poison on the counter in the kitchen and lost a knife from his knife block. Now that you have all the characters and all of the story, If you guys want to do like a timeline or something like that, just put on your detective caps, and we will see you guys next week as we all try to go over the murder and try to solve who killed Charles Mallory. Thank you guys. Mine and Morgan's social medias are going to be down below if I remember to do that. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this, and I hope like it's fun. Whenever I present it to Morganne, I hope that she enjoys it also. And yeah, I love you guys, and goodbye.